Hades Heart by Jupiter Hollow. Cool song, very Tool inspired. It's generally in the prog rock sort of genre. It's got parts that are clean. It's got parts that are dirty. I'm going to walk you through section by section, fret by fret, make sure every section is completely clear. I'm going to go through each technique required to play each section, whether that's tapping or some sort of picking formation or whatever it may be, or the effects that you need to be able to change between. I'm going to go through every detail to make sure you can play the song fully, truly, accurately to the original song. I'll break it down, make it easy for you, and by the end you should be able to play the song completely all the way through, exactly like the original. So let's get started. First of all, there are some important details we gotta go over in order to play the song right. The first big one is the tuning of the song. It's pretty weird tuning. That tuning looks like this. I'm going to play each note so that you can tune to me, but just for a frame of reference, these are the notes you're tuning to. So here you go. I'm going to play it for you and tune along to me so that you can follow the tutorial. First of all, your low E string is tuned all the way down to a C sharp. You may need a heavier string than the one you already have to properly play that. If not, you can get away with a normal gauge string. It'll just be a little bit floppity. I recommend a 10 or 11 should be good enough to go all the way down to C sharp. That C sharp sounds like this. Next is a G sharp. That's down one step from the normal tuning of this A string. You should be able to get there with any kind of normal A string. It'll work. And the one after that is C sharp. Again, just down 1/2 step from D. Any string will work. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. After that is G sharp. If you're using a pack of 11s, that G sharp is going to be really hard to get to. You might snap a string, maybe not, maybe you'll get lucky. At the best case scenario with 11s, it's going to be really hard to play on that G string. So I recommend 10s or 9s for this, since we're going up a 1/2 step from G to G sharp. That sounds like this. Alright, and this is another weird one. We're going from B up to C sharp. B to C to C sharp. That's like, we're going up that much. Now, that's a lot to go up in pitch. So again, just like the G string, with this one, since we're going up 2 steps, you definitely need a lighter pack for this. 10s will probably work, but it's going to be a stretch and you may break a string. This is a pack of 10s and I've got it tuned up to C sharp and I'm doing okay. But this song also doesn't have any bends on the B string. So if you're doing bends on the B string and you're tuned up to C sharp, it's probably gonna snap. So be careful, unless you want a snap string in your hand. So recommended pack, get a pack of 9s for at least this B string, the equivalent of what comes in a 9 gauge pack of strings. And then finally, we're tuning the E string down 1/2 step to E flat or D sharp. So the whole thing should sound like this. Now, as far as completing the whole pack, what you might want is a standard pack of 10s should get you there. Be careful, don't do any crazy bends, but a standard pack of 10s should get you there and be even enough. Your intonation is going to be a little funky because the guitar is not going to be set up for this tuning. But for the purposes of just playing this one song, a pack of 10s should be fine. If you can get a more custom set, much looser on the top strings, on the higher pitched strings, and something heavier on the bottom is better. because you're tuning these 3 down and these 2 up, and then this one down only a half step. If you can get something like those Ernie Ball heavy bottom slinky tops, where the higher pitch strings are thinner and the lower pitch strings are heavier, that would be good. But no standard formation, no standard gauge of strings is going to be perfect, just to let you know. A 10s will work. If you can get heavy bottom slinky tops, that may help. But if you just need the bare bones, a pack of 10s will work. Just don't go too quick on this B to C sharp, because that's a lot. That much of a change. So be careful. Again, here's your whole tuning. You should sound like that. If you don't sound like that, you messed up. Go back, look at the notes, get a tuner, tune to me specifically by each string, and then you're ready to go. Okay, next is the key that the song is in. It's essentially in C sharp minor, hence why we are in an open C sharp tuning. But there are some major notes in there, and there's a lot of flip-flop between the two of major and minor. Even the opening riff itself goes between minor to major, and then minor again. So there's a lot of switching back and forth in this song. In the verses, you're doing it again. That's a major chord, and then you go straight to minor. So that's just a little music theory to note. It's in basically C sharp minor, but we do a little flipping back and forth between major and minor. Next is the BPM. That's important to note too. 145 beats per minute. For this song, you're gonna need about 3 different tone variations. You're gonna need 1 clean tone with echo, and I will go over how to get that echo and how to get that tone, but you will need one that basically sounds like this. A little bit of reverb, a little bit of echo with an 1/8 note delay. Dun, 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 dun. And then you're gonna need a dirty tone with less echo and delay. Sounds something like this. And then you're gonna need an in-between section. You could achieve that just by digging in harder to your clean section, hitting it harder, and that'll cause it to distort a little bit. Or you could have a whole separate tone that's a mild overdrive. But in the transitions from the clean verses to the heavy choruses, there is a little bit of a dirt that starts to fade in. So if you want to be completely true to the original, you're going to need that too. Okay, so this main riff of the song plays quite a few times in the song. It's the main catch, the main hook of the song. Sounds like this. Pretty simple, not too bad. So first of all, the main technique, we're just doing some all down picking. It needs to be palm muted though. If you don't know how to palm mute, you lightly rest your hand, this flesh right here on these strings while you pick. Now this is easier to do with a down pick when you're first starting out, but you can do it with both. And that'll change the sound from something like to, see how it shortens the length of it and makes it sound a little more snappy and less bright? The goal is this flesh of your hand right here to lightly rest without completely flattening the string and dampening it completely, because then you get just a dead sound. And that's not right. You want it to where it will still be the same note no matter what, but it'll just slightly make it a little more poppy and staccato and short. And I just recommend trying something like that. Or even just with the open string until you can get the tone right. Now, depending on what string you're on, it might be less of the side and more of actually down here. Everybody palm mutes differently. Some people will go like that, where it's definitely this flesh. And that can be a little bit awkward for some people, but it works. And some people go much, much more further down to where you're even palm muting with actually some of this. I think that's the way that I play, is I'm doing a lot more of around this area. But that also changes on which string. And it really doesn't matter as long as you're actually muting the sound a little bit, making it that snappy staccato sound. It doesn't matter what part of your hand. Just do what it feels comfortable to you and still achieves the sound correctly. So just practice it, you'll get it. So once you get palm muting basics down, you're gonna need to be able to do it through 2 strings. So practice all the way to where you can do 2 strings palm muted at the same time. We're gonna be picking all down pick for this whole riff. So there's no up and down, it's all just down, 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 down. So we're gonna go all the way up to the 12th fret. I know sometimes it's hard to tell because I don't have markers on every single one, but this lightning bolt right here for me is the 12th fret, so you can remember that. So we're gonna go to the 12th fret on the D and G string. That is this string and this one. It's the middle 2. I know I have 8 strings and that's confusing, but we're just ignoring those for the whole tutorial. Pretend that I don't have these 2 bottom strings because they're not gonna be used. It's these middle 2 strings, not these. And not these, these. So we're gonna go up to 12th fret on both of them. You're gonna fret it with these 2 fingers, preferably. But if you can't do that, find something that works. You're gonna go down picks, dun, 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 dun. And then you're gonna change from your pinky right here to your pointer, 2 frets down on the 10th. You got that? Dun, 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 dun. So that's the first bit. 12 and 12 and 12 and 10. And then this ring finger on the D string, on this string right here, is going to trade places with your index finger to the 10th fret on that same string. And then what was your pointer finger on the 10th fret on the G string is now going to be your pinky on the 13th fret of the G string. So that looks like this. That's 10 and 13. So you got that? And then this 13 is going to go down to 12 again. So the whole thing so far. And then you're going to do a big switch again. Ring finger goes back to the 12th fret on the D string. Pointer finger, index finger is going to go all the way down to 9 on the G string. That's that major sound I was talking about in the beginning. So and this is a new one. You could also fret that like this with your pinky, but it's a little bit awkward to switch since you're like this. So I find it easier to just, but you can do either. You're gonna raise this pointer finger from the 9th fret to the 10th fret. And then they're both gonna slide down. This is gonna go from 12 to 10. And this is gonna go from 10 to 8. And here's a new one. And then this 8 is going to go up to 10. So they're both on 10. So I'm going to play the whole thing really slow for you. And then it just repeats. So that whole thing played at normal speed sounds about like this. Now in the other video, I explained exactly how to get that sound, but just to go over it really quick, that is a 8th note delay, 8th note ping pong delay, which means it goes do, 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 bounces from left to right. It needs to be an 8th note, so dun, 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 and it needs about 7 repeats. If you get that, that's a good enough delay sound. So just get a solid clean tone with an 8th note delay with about 7 repeats, and you're good. Maybe a little bit of reverb to spice it up, but not too much. And then you're good to go. That's the basic sound for this part of the song. So the next part is that heavy section that comes right after that intro. Now for this, you're going to want to switch to bridge pickup because it's a dirty rhythm. Go ahead and switch over to the neck pickup. And you can do that towards the end because as you can hear on the song, they open it up a little bit. It starts to go. Take advantage of that. And that's your perfect time to switch to bridge pickup. So this part of the song goes. So it's a very dissonant part of the song. And it has these strings ringing open the whole time. So the only strings that change are these middle 3. So you're going to do basically what a power chord is in standard tuning, but it's not going to sound like a power chord in this tuning. It's a 9th chord in this tuning. And that's the first chord. It's 5, 7, 7, on A, D, and G. And then you're gonna drop that whole thing down 2 frets. And that's 3, 5, 5. And then you're gonna slide up to 6, 8, 8, and 8, 10, 10. And the general rhythm is. So at full speed. And don't strum all of the strings the whole time. That'll sound pretty terrible because it's so dissonant. So you're gonna wanna hit them on that first chord. And then mostly aim for these strings. But let those ring out because they're there in the original and they add a little extra tone and dissonance and tension. So you don't want to get rid of them completely. And that's that heavy section. There you go. Next up is the verse that comes after the intro. You're gonna need another clean tone with this. You're gonna strum all the strings and have 7 and 5 on the A and D string fretted, and then slide up 2 frets, 9 and 7. Just like that. So you strum all of them and slide up. You got that? So you're gonna go do, do, da, do. And sort of roughly aimed for a little bit like a melody playing, but it's not that exact. It's got a little leeway. Just sort of strum it. It should be pretty comfortable just to strum sort of openly. You don't have to be very precise and go. Just sort of go for that general area. And then we're gonna go to this next chord, and that's 8 on the low string, and then 10, 10, and then all 8s. So it should sound like this. And remember that shape. Barred all the way across, and then pinky and ring holding down the A and the D string. Because we're going to be keeping that shape around. So again, you're going to start off this verse with, and then go straight to that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then next you have this digga-da-da, which is down, up, down, up. Down, up, down, up, ba-da-da-da. And the best way to come in, since there's a little bit of a pause there, it's da-da-da-da-da-do, is count 2 beats, like this. 1, 2. 1, 2. And then, after you get that down, the next chord is the same shape, just down 5, 7, 7, 5, 5, 5. So, 1, 2. And that same thing, just do it, that same strumming pattern on this shape. And then da-da-da-da. So the whole thing for that part is 1, 2. In full speed. 2, 3, 4. Like that. So once you got that down, that repeats another time, play it twice. And then we play a little variation of it. It's the same sort of general chords, but we're going to change a couple of notes. So you do that same slidey thing. But instead of this, we're going to go to this. And that's just 8, 8, 8 on the low 3 strings. And we're going to keep this da 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 do da da da, that kind of rhythm. Da 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 da. You got that? So you're keeping that same shape, just that like power chord. But we're fretting it like this so that we can have these high strings ring out. Ba-da-da-da-da, boom, ba-da-da, boom, 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 ba-da, boom, boom, boom. And then take this down to all 5. Back up to 8. And then da 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 to 10. And then after that variation on it, you go back to the normal one and play it once. And then that's it for that clean verse. Remember that as a contained section because we're going to play that whole contained section again later in the song. Next, we play the main riff. And then we go to that dirty chorus section again. But we play it less times this time. So pay attention in the song how many times. It's like about half as many times as we played it the first time. Just twice all the way through. And then we go back to that clean part, that part with the little slidey thing that sounds like this. And then we play that main riff again. But this time, we only play a little snippet of it. Just a tiny little bit of it. Dun, 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 dun. And then you're going to switch to dirty tone. Dun, 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 dun. It's the exact same frets as before, just changed up a little bit of the rhythm. So in the part before, when you go dun, 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 don't come down on the beat. It's a little bit before the beat. It's not dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. It's not like that. It goes like this. Dun, 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 dun. It's a little bit, it's on the beat right before that downbeat. So make sure to get that rhythm. And that sort of repeats through now that we're playing it with a distortion tone. Every one of those sort of first beats, you're gonna jump forward a little bit. And I'll play that for you. It goes. And you already know how to play that. Do some palm muting. The only difference is don't palm mute the whole thing. You're going to want to alternate between palm muting and not. So just lift up just a little so that you're not palm muting. And if you need practice with that, just practice on one chord. Just go. Until you can get that fairly reliable. All right, and this is my favorite part of the song next up, and actually the easiest part of the song to play. It's really, really simple. It's just some power chords on the lowest 3 strings. We're gonna go to the 8th fret on the low 3 strings. You're gonna play a sort of similar rhythm to that main riff. So that's 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 10, 3. Do a little go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not. That's not it. You gotta have that little weighted beat, that rest, that mute. And I mute with both hands on that one. I'm muting while I'm sliding to that 3rd fret, but I'm also muting a little bit with this hand. So you get a completely muted tone. And then you're going to go up to the 5th fret. Another one of those muted things. So you go da 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 da. You use that as a repetition thing. You play that exactly the same, but then we don't do that. You just stay on that 5th fret. So that's probably the easiest way to do it. Just for this lowest string, do a pull off. And that's it for that riffy section. All right, next comes the guitar solo. So this is obviously going to be the most difficult part of the song. It's the most complicated, and there's the most different sections to remember. So we're really going to have to break this one down quite a bit. First of all, you're going to need a wah pedal. So go ahead and get that hooked up. Listen to the record and sort of go intuitively with how you think your foot movement should go, because you don't want to just leave it in a weird spot. You want to get that wow, wow, wow. Okay, so first of all, it starts off with a really big bend, and be careful because we're already tuning the string up, and we gotta bend it up a whole step from here to here. That's a really big bend. If you can't do that, that's understandable because that's a little tricky, especially in time with the song. So you can just go. And it sounds pretty good that way too. So if you don't feel like making a risky bend, you might not land or that might snap a string, just slide. And it sounds pretty good that way. We're gonna do that bend or that slide from 3 up to 5. or slide. And then go 3, 1, and then slide all the way up. That's 17 on G and E. Bend up. Slide. 17, 17. They're both 17. And then come back to 3, 1 on G. And here comes the hard part, the tapping part. So let me explain that for you. After you come back down from here, that's 12. And then you're going to pull off to open G. And then hammer on first fret to 3. And then you're just going to keep doing that up the scale. That's 3 and 5. 5 and 7. And then 7 and 8. So. And then that's up to 10. And then you're going to do a little bend. So that's... You tap 7, 8, 7, 5, 10, 9, 10. Slide down to 5. And then you're gonna go 12, 10. And this is where you're going to start with the tremolo picking. So tremolo picking, there's a number of different ways to do it. Some people do it with their wrist. And basically this is going to come down to whatever method is the most comfortable for you. So you're going to have to try a couple and find out which kind of tremolo picking you like. Some people do it with their wrist, like the Eddie Van Halen style. Some people will anchor and do that sort of thing. Some people, it's more of an elbow, and some people, it's an arm, shoulder type thing. Me, I use a little bit of elbow movement and a little bit of shoulder. Mostly elbow, as you can kind of see. It's kind of just this motion with a little bit of wrist, a little bit of shoulder movement, not much. Mostly this. This is mostly what I'm doing. And to get that down, I would just make sure you're doing it lightly with as little motion as possible. You don't want to like really drain yourself out, because this is one of the techniques that can definitely do that. It should be fairly comfortable. So practice that a little bit. My main tips are find out if you prefer this sort of shaky wrist thing. A lot of people do. If that feels comfortable for you, go down that alley. I don't really do that. It doesn't usually feel too great for me. I don't usually do that. I can do it. But it's never comfortable for me. I always prefer just this movement. So if you're just starting out, probably the elbow type movement is easier. But if it's not really coming, it's not happening, try the shaky wrist thing. So you sort of go, you do this sort of thing. And you shake it like that. And it's a very loose wrist. tighten it up just enough to where you make sure it's still hitting the string. Again, I'm not a master at that because I don't really use that style, but if that's working for you, go ahead. And just try and make sure you're laying down with the beats and lining up with the song. You don't want to just blindly... because that doesn't sound very good, where you're just picking fast, but you're not really doing anything rhythmically or lining up. It still should be 1, 2, 3, 4. It should still be very rhythmically intact as far as where the notes are changing. Try and make sure you're laying down on beats if you can. So to recap, we go like this. And that's where the tremolo picking comes in. So that's 17 and then 16 on the B string. And then just let the string have it. We're gonna be tremolo picking for the whole time, so keep it going. So we're gonna go 17, 16, and then hold 19. And then a slide, but keep that tremolo picking going. And that's down the scale. That's 20, 19, 17, 16. And that is 22, 20, 19. So we start with the tapping. And that is 22, 20, 18. So the whole tremolo picking section. After you finish up with the tremolo picking, there's a little while you're still tremolo picking, and that's just up to the 20 again. So that whole pattern just da-la, da-la, that legato lick over and over again. Just keep a note. That gets pretty painful doing over and over again. So if you're practicing this section, be careful. You're gonna shred through your fingertips playing up that high and sliding that much. So if you start to feel some pain, stop, wait, and practice that section again later, because you will hurt your fingers. You will develop blisters before you will callus over. So if you're feeling some intense pain, stop. Don't keep going. But the frets of that section are 20, 18, 20, 18, 17. And that's 18, 17, 15, 17, 15, and 13. And then 15, 13, and 12. And then 13, 12, and 10. But you're not going to complete the full lick. You're not going to go. You're going to go. And be careful bending this string. Very careful, because it's already tuned up a lot. If this string snaps, make sure you're using the right gauge of strings, like I recommended in the beginning. But if this string snaps, it's to be expected. Don't be shocked if you snap a string while playing the solo of the song, because you're tuned up really high and you're bending strings a lot. But we're going to go from to really slow the whole thing. And pay attention to the fingering I'm doing too. That might help you if you're getting lost and you're like, why is this not working? Use the same fingering that I use. Otherwise, you're not going to be prepared to go for that bend. If you're going like this, it's going to be really difficult. So make sure you got that pointer so that you're ready to bend with the strength of all these fingers. It's a big bend, so you're going to need all that strength. So you bend up, and then you go 10, 12, That's a hammer on. $12, $12, $10, $10, $8, $7. And then you're going to do a little bendy kind of thing. Wow, wow. And then we're going to repeat that bend from the beginning. And then you're going to go, that's 3, 1 on G and 3 on E. And then 5, 5, 5, 4. And you're definitely going to have the wah pedal on for this. And you're going to do sweeps towards the low end, but not all the way. To get this sound, you're going to sweep through the low end of the wah. You see how it gets that sort of like a growl almost? That's how he's doing it in the song. You keep the foot pedal and the wah pedal relatively depressed and kind of just sweep through the bottom half, but don't go all the way up to the top. Otherwise you get that harsh kind of, but down here you get that. So again. And then towards the end, you can sweep all the way up. So that covers a solo. It can be a little bit tricky solo, especially with some of those tremolo picking parts and that legato, like that can be a little tricky. So practice it, be patient with it, play it slow the song down, add a metronome if you can, or just practice it with a metronome by yourself and at a slow speed, slowly increase it and you'll get it. If you have any questions, you can ask me and I'll help you with the solo. Next after that is a little clean bridge. We go to it straight out of the solo. So that is just 3 and 3 on the lowest strings, and the rest are open. You're gonna go to play the bottom 2, dum, and then open D, and then bounce back to the bottom 2, and then up to the B, B, G. And then bum, bum. You got that? So then after that, you go to the 3rd fret on just the A string. And then you're going to fret with your pinky and your ring, or you could do it like this. That's pretty uncomfortable. So I recommend like this. 5 and 5, and then 3 and 3, and then 2 and 2, and then open and open. So slow. And you're going to let those open strings ring out the whole time. They add to the mojo of this section. So don't mute any strings. Make sure they can ring out by not accidentally laying your finger down on them and muting them. Let that stuff ring out as much as possible. So you play that a couple times and then there's a variation on it at the end. You don't go to the second half where you're up on here. You don't do that. You stick on the 3rd fret. To be inside you. Same sort of general thing, general idea. Just hang out on these for twice as long. We're only going to these 2. And then we're going straight back to the monumental riff of the song. We already know how to play this. And then you're gonna do that early beat. Dun 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 dun. Wow, just give me gas. Then we're gonna switch to a dirty sound. You just play that main lead for a little bit. Do it as epic as you can, bro. Because it's the final part of the song. It's the big climax of the song. And then we're gonna go to that clean part. This is the outro of the song. So that part goes like this. After coming out of the riff, when we're playing it dirty, you can go straight to. Now that's 12 and 12, and then 13, but you're skipping the B. The B string stays open, so 12 and 12 on D and G, and then 13 on E, and open on B, so it should sound like that. And the pattern that you're gonna play is. You're gonna strum the bottom 3, and then go G, D, high E, B. And then let those bottom 3 ring out, don't touch them. Slide that shape down to 10 and 10 and 12. So. And then 10, 10, 10, and this time you are playing the B string, you're not playing the high E. And then go to A string and do 13 and 12 on D. Boom, boom, boom. And then open G. First time you play it, just to open strings. So. And then we repeat that part. And then we go to harmonics, which if you're not too versed on harmonics, you just lightly lay your finger down on that fret until you get this sound. Not too hard. Not too soft to where you're not touching it and it's just buzzing on your fingers. It should be a firm contact, but no pressure, just laying it there. And then go boom. Open string. That's the open E string. that's just gonna be harmonics on the 12th fret, G and D. So to make this easier, I do up, up, and then down picks. So up, up, down, down. And that just keeps you from, instead of alternating picking, which is where you're gonna get all tangled up. That's so much extra motion. So just keep going up, down, down. And that should be easier to do it at that speed, or even faster. So you're gonna slam that open string. You play it with the B a couple of times. And then you're gonna go up to the E. And then your echo rings out, and that's the end of the song. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the song. Well done. Okay, so that's Hades' Heart by Jupiter Hollow. If you have any questions about the song, let me know. I'll help you out. We'll make sure you get the song learned nice and proper. Thanks, and good luck with the song. Have fun.